What if your fabric didn't just support your design, but actually was the design? Today, we're diving into the rich, colorful world of Cherrywood hand-dyed fabrics, those gorgeous suede-like solids, which are actually cotton, that make you want to run your hands across the fabrics. On today's episode, we'll talk about color, texture, and why these fabrics have become a favorite for quilters who want depth in their quilts with bold, beautiful hues of color. Today, I'll have a chat with Karla Overland. Hello and welcome to the Quilter on Fire podcast. I'm Brandy Maslowski, a former firefighter turned quilt professional. As a quilt teacher, speaker, and judge, I travel the globe to bring quilters more joy and less overwhelm. Not too long ago, the quilty life I now lead was just a dream. After many lessons and a lot of hard work, I've transitioned from juggling a day job and a quilting business on the side to becoming a full-time quiltpreneur. I started the Quilter on Fire podcast to create a vibrant community of quilters, artists, and makers. Each episode brings you inspiring stories, insights, and the pure joy of guests from all over the world. If their stories uplift you and spark joy, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and ignite that creative fire within you. My guest today is Karla Overland from Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics, a company with a beautiful history that started over 35 years ago. From humble beginnings, Cherrywood has grown into a globally recognized name, known for its rich, luminous colors and that signature soft, almost suede-like texture. Karla Overland is the colorist who creates and maintains 200 formulas of gorgeous colors. She is also a quilt designer, pattern designer, and graphic designer. Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics is known worldwide in the quilting industry and employs 10 women in Minnesota. Today, we'll talk about the story behind the business, then Karla's story, and we'll even touch on how the fabric is made without giving away the trade secrets. So let's explore the story of Cherrywood Fabrics. Karla, welcome to the show.
Hello, it's so nice to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to have you here. I want to start off with a little silly story about my experience with Cherrywood Fabrics, okay? So I was at a conference in Minnesota and I was the judge, a teacher, a speaker. I was having a lot of fun at that conference, but I was teaching my very first day of class, which is a beautiful landscape with a vibrant sunset in the background. And this gal ran into my class at 9 a.m. saying, "I'm taking your class. I signed up at the last second. What do I need?" And I said, "Go to Cherrywood, buy these 5 fabrics and come right back." And she did. And it was perfect. So your vendor booth was there. But the story behind it was that I had chosen her quilt, which is a handmade, hand-stitched quilt of her mom's cashmere sweaters, as my favorite judge's choice in the non-judged show. And so when she found that out, she wanted to take my class. So that was kind of fun. But it was so nice to have, okay, I've got Cherrywood in my head. You can just go get it and come right back.
Get
so
those colors, right?
Yeah, you had the colors and you always do. So today we're going to talk about the story behind the business, your story, and everything in between. But I'd like to start at the very beginning. So let's take a look back at where you got started. So when do you first remember putting stitch to fabric?
Well, I have 2 older sisters, so my first memory of sewing is making Barbie doll clothes.
Oh.
And also we were all in 4-H, and my mom was a home economist, so she taught us all to sew, and we did fashion review, pretty much sewed most of my clothes when I was a certain age. But I always felt like I had to do it because older sisters were doing it.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave my mom a hard time.
You reluctantly did it.
Reluctantly, yes.
I loved 4-H. We had 4-H up here in Canada too. I remember taking an orange and sticking cloves all over it. Did you do that one?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've done pretty much every sort of craft there is. I have a very crafty mother.
Well, it kind of brings me to my next question. Were there certain people in your life that had a creative impact on you early on?
Well, like I said, my mom is very creative. She's 85 years old and she's still finding new crafts to do.
Oh.
I have an aunt who was the only quilter that I know of in the family, and she had a hexagon-shaped sewing cabinet for her sewing machine, and I was just fascinated with that. And she made the kind of quilts where you used old clothing and polyesters and everything like that, but that was my first memory of quilting.
Oh, and do you remember your first actual quilt that you made?
I do. I was in college and I kind of turned my back on the sewing machine because of my rebellious nature, but I realized that quilting would be kind of fun. So I bought a magazine, taught myself how to just do an Irish chain, and my first quilt was a baby quilt for my niece, Mackenzie. So,
Oh,
and it's interesting because the colors that I chose are very cherrywood colors, but they were solid. And yeah, I had no idea that that would come full circle.
oh, you're already exploring your inner color maven
I was.
that early on. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your journey. So tell us your path from youth to education, career before the fabric business.
Well, I went to college for graphic design and got my Bachelor of Fine Arts at Morehead State University. And of course, I was taking color theory classes and art history and all sorts of things. Um, and in my, I took a women in art class, and I learned about quilters like Judy Chicago, who used fibers, and she was an artist. And that's when it clicked that quilting and sewing is just using, it's like painting, but we're using thread and fabric.
Yeah.
So that kind of triggered me to get back to the sewing machine and get back into it. And then I worked in advertising after college for 10 years. And that brought me to where I live now, to Brainerd, Minnesota. And I had joined the quilt club, and everybody was showing like show and tell of these beautiful quilts. And they'd all say, "This is my cherrywood this and my cherrywood that." And I was like, what is cherrywood? I didn't know. I was, a sheltered. I was kind of quilting on my own. And I got introduced to Dawn Hall, who was the founder of Cherrywood. And she needed some graphic design work. She needed a new logo and a brochure and things like that. And that's how we first got connected. So she came over to my house, and I still hadn't actually seen the fabric. I just knew I was doing a logo. And she walked into my house, and I had a beautiful double wedding ring quilt that my mother made. My mom made exactly three quilts for the three daughters. And I had this double wedding ring quilt on the wall, all hand quilted, and it was gradations of hunter, green, and mauve, which tells you when I got married. But Dawn looked at that and she said, "Well, that's cherrywood. You have a cherrywood hanging on your wall." And I had no idea. So it was very much serendipity that we connected, and um, the rest is kind of history.
Oh my gosh, what a heartwarming story. Like, what are the chances of all the fabric in the world that your mother could have chosen? Could have been like just heritage stuff that she found at thrift shop. It could have been
Right.
anything, and it was cherrywood. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's Minnesota, right? So maybe it's
Right.
kind of more iconic there locally where it's made, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, how did you grow and change as a maker over time? Did you kind of stick to quilting and grow from there, or did you explore every other craft along the way?
So I've mainly stuck to quilting, but I also used to meet with a bunch of women every month, and we called ourselves fiber artists. So we were experimenting with like discharge paste and flour pounding and mark making and shibori and all the things that you could do to fabric. And that really gets me excited. Cherrywood is also a nice base for all those kind of things. So I would play with that. I'm still playing with what can you do to the fabric.
Yeah.
Um, I actually just did some ice dyeing on our last snow in Minnesota. I got the last of the snow to do some snow dyeing. So
Oh,
it's a lot of
fun.
fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so we're going to take a moment out of the story for a second. We're going to come back to the founder and how it transitioned into you being part of the business. But let's take a moment to find out, where are you living right now, and who are your loved ones that you share your world with every day?
I'm living in Baxter, Minnesota, and most people know Brainerd, Minnesota. Baxter and Brainerd are like twin cities.
Oh, okay.
And so we are central Minnesota. I'm about 2 hours northwest of Minneapolis. And I live with my husband, and we're empty nesters now.
Oh,
And we have three grown children who are out in the world adulting, so we're pretty proud of them.
yeah.
And right now we don't have any furry friends because we are remodeling our whole house and we had to get rid of our pets to get
Oh,
that done.
yeah. Let's get back into the conversation about design because you are a pattern designer as well. So, when you see something in the world that sparks an idea for you in quilting, how do you capture that? Do you go pencil to paper and start drawing in a sketchbook, or do you go digital right away, or do you just grab cherrywood fabrics and throw them on the wall?
Hmm. Well, all of the above, but
Okay.
usually it's a quick sketch on a tiny little piece of paper. So I'm a doodler. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of little things sitting around my computer, but then I usually do go to the computer. I'm since I'm so comfortable being a graphic designer, I've got, powerful graphic software that I can use and I can plug in colors, but there's nothing like just playing with cherrywood. So I just love putting things on the design wall or just like the mess of my sewing space.
Yeah.
There's so many times where I will like throw some fabric down and realize, oh my gosh, those two colors look really nice together.
Yeah.
So it's all experimentation.
Yeah, fun. Okay, so how would you describe the difference between you already mentioned that you are an art quilter and you love to make art quilt designs and your pattern design? Are they quite different or do they blend into each other?
They're different. Art quilting is kind of just for me,
Uh,
something that I'm not going to try to replicate. Whereas when you're pattern designing, it's more commercial. You have to
yeah,
have something sellable and repeat it. And so that's the balance that I like. If I get some time alone to do what I want to do, and I don't have to think about how do I replicate this and how do I measure this and how do I write directions. But
yeah,
um, all my experience in graphic design, I did a lot of catalogs and just organizing and writing. So, graphic design is basically taking a bunch of information and making it beautiful.
yeah,
So, it kind of was second nature to me to start writing patterns.
yeah. So cool. And with regard to patterns, where do you pull your color inspiration from?
Oh, nature, pretty much. My husband takes a lot of beautiful photography of out in the woods, and he'll walk around in the woods and take photos of things that most of us would just step on and never see.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little tiny creatures that he does macro photography, and that really helps me kind of dissect a photo and what colors are in there, what colors make up that green. It's not just green, there's also
Yeah.
other things in there.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool. Like you kind of know, don't you, that if it works in nature, it'll probably work in a quilt as well.
Absolutely. Mother Nature is the artist that we all strive to be,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, now let's get into the business a little bit further because we told the bit of the story, but we didn't go very far. So, Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics. Tell us a little bit more about the founder's story. She started in her basement, right?
Yes. So she took a dyeing class and she started making gradations of colors on cotton. And, she was using her washing machine at home as well as doing her family's laundry. And the story goes that uh, her kids started complaining about all the dye spots on their clothing. So she moved the business to another building and got an employee. And I came on board in 2000. Um, like I said, I had worked for her as graphic design, but she invited me to a quilt show, and I just fell in love immediately. I just loved the whole industry and all the color and stimulation, and I just thought, this is it. So I spent about the next year and a half begging her for a job. I was getting burned out with advertising, and I needed a switch of careers. And at the same time, she had been battling ovarian cancer, unfortunately, and she needed somebody to carry on the business. So my timing was, meant to be.
Yeah.
Um, and in 2015, we moved from the small building to our current building. And now I have 10 employees, and we've actually outgrown this space, and I've had to rent space next door. So we are slowly but surely growing.
Yeah. And do you know anything about why she originally chose that business name?
I do. Being in central Minnesota, we are just surrounded by lakes and trees. So all of the street names in Baxter are named after trees. And she lived on Cherrywood Drive. So that
Oh,
is where the name came from.
oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, and so you were able to purchase or take over the business in some way. What were the first couple of years like? Was it like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? Or yes, this is my calling? Like, how did it feel making that transition?
Well, it was such I had worked in the business and then for Dawn and her, I had a silent partner and another partner. So it was a gradual learning curve because being an art major, I didn't take business courses
Yeah,
and I didn't, think I was going to grow up to be a business owner. So a lot of it was on the job training and I did a lot of courses. And so when it came to buying out the last partner, that was just a leap of faith, but I was so ready for it.
yeah.
And I had such a good support system that yeah, I was ready to dive right in.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how things have changed over time. You grew the team, of course. So let's start there. Tell us about the team.
Yes, I've grown the team from one person and a few and a few women working out of their homes. And now I have 10 employees, and all the employees work in the building. We used to be too small, so women would uh, pick up wet fabric and take it home and iron it in a mangler and bring it back. And so that was, just a lot of driving and back and forth. But to have everything under one roof and also all on one level,
Yeah.
because years ago we worked in an old house where we dyed the fabric in the basement. We worked on the main floor and we stored the fabric upstairs in the bedrooms. So up and downstairs all day long.
Wow.
And now we're rolling things around in carts and we actually we're on a busy street here and we have exposure. So now we have a showroom where people can come visit us.
Wow.
And that's never happened before. Um, and we also have gone from just selling pre-cut bundles to selling fabric by the yard on a bolt, which
Yeah.
is our latest huge
Yeah.
revamp. It
And
took a
it's
while to figure that out.
And it shows at the shows too, because I was just at a show where you had a beautiful, gorgeous, gigantic booth and you had bolts of fabric on display and for sale. And I came around the corner and you were like, look, look, they're all empty. So that's pretty exciting that they're selling. And I could hardly even talk to you in your booth because it's so full of people all the time, just pouring over everything. So let's talk about the team a little bit more. I love to give shout outs to the team. So who are the people who really just help you in this world of business?
Well, my person who's been with me the longest is Lorene, and she has done everything in the business. She used to work from home, and now she is doing, she's my head dyer. She's doing shipping. She does customer service. She pretty much does it all. And she's been with me over 10 years. Nathania is marketing and wholesale and manages the wholesale accounts. And she actually works remotely, and we kind of share the same brain, so we're a little obnoxious when we get together and get all creative.
I have been at a dinner table with both of you, I think.
Yes, I
Nate,
think so.
familiar.
And then we have two men who are doing in the production. I have Landon, who is also, I've taught him how to do the dyes so he can take it production from start to finish. And Josh, who is like the most neat quilter or folder and cutter. Like the bundles that he makes are just precise and perfect, and the bolts are tight. Like the bolts are rolled by hand, and he is the best bolt roller, which, that's something I should put on his business card.
Yeah.
I've got some part-time people. I've got Laura, Janice, and Kate, and Aaron, and they help with the packaging. So Cherrywood has been known for those beautiful bundles and folded so nice and tight, and those are the people that really make those gorgeous and irresistible.
Yeah, it's so true. Like when you walk up to the table, you just like, Everything is exactly the same. It's just the colors just blend. It brings me right back to like the very first time I ever tried to make a gradation of dye. I had this baggies all over the table and I was putting, quarter teaspoon, half teaspoon. And when it came out, they were barely a different color, but it was kind of a gradation, But I think, not only do you have like a gorgeous color palette, you put them together so well. And the difference between the colors is perfect. Like you'll match the right colors. I don't even know how you do it, but it's like a treasure trove of color when you walk into the booth. You just want to pick it all up. Can I have one of every single colorway, please?
Well, we hear that a lot, and
Yeah.
I've actually had a few customers that have actually done that. So that's kind of
Wow.
fun.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome. That's so great.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've seen how things have changed and grown over time, and you have a wonderful team. Tell us where we can find you at shows. What kind of shows do you do each year?
Well, I do the national quilt shows. So Houston, Road to California, Paducah, the Minnesota State Show, of course.
Mhm.
And we're going to the Fiber Festival in Rosemont.
Mhm.
And in the past, we used to do more shows. I'm trying to cut back a little bit just because I'm getting older, and we're also trying to get into more quilt shops.
Mm.
So we'll never stop doing the shows, though, because that's where we connect with the customers, and I really feed off of that energy.
Yeah.
Um, and then we do a lot of mail order. So cherrywoodfabrics.com.
Yeah.
That's the best way. And then we are getting more and more quilt shops that carry Cherrywood. So you can go to our website and find a store locator and see if there's a store near you that you can visit, or go to their website and order as well.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard you say that before. Go to your local quilt shop to find cherrywood, and if they don't have it, you can mention that you'd love it if they brought it in, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. They can always call us and we can
Yeah.
get them set up.
Okay, so if you own a quilt shop, reach out if you think this would be a good fit for your shop. And let's just talk about the business in a nutshell. So, what's your elevator pitch? What do you bring to the world with your business?
We have the most fabulous, rich, saturated colors that look like suede.
Mm.
And our claim to fame is these gorgeous gradation bundles that I come up with. And just not only is it beautiful and draws you in, but the quality is really good. We start out with a really high quality muslin. And by the time we get done with all the dyeing and washing and drying, it's pre-shrunk and there's no right or wrong side. And the thread count is super high.
Yeah.
So the thread count is also even. So it needle turns beautifully. It hand quilts beautifully. It just sews like butter.
Yeah. And let's just talk about that legacy a little bit because you didn't do this all on your own. Dawn she created the whole thing and she started making these velvety fabrics along the way, right? So
Mhm.
is it kind of like a secret sauce that you don't tell anybody about all the whole process of how you come across, like how they end up being so soft?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hold that very close to our
Yeah.
vest.
It
And
is such a velvety texture, I'm telling you.
yeah, we're doing it almost exactly how Dawn started doing it. We're still doing the same kind of technique. So
Yeah.
yeah, she had it really figured out.
Okay. And then your tagline is so softly solid. So what does that mean to you?
Well, we came up with that because it does sew like butter and it's so soft. We get that from our customers all the time that they really enjoy working with it.
Mhm.
And also the texture of the fabric, that tone on tone texture that looks like suede, that's actually a soft kind of texture.
Yeah.
I like to say that it's more than solid. From a distance, you'll see, oh, that's red. But when you come up closer, that's when you see that there's some variations and crackling and really cool patterns in the
Mhm.
texture.
Yeah, so cool. And you have hundreds of colors, color formulas, I guess that they would be called. I don't know. So can you tell me where did it all start when you sort of were working with Dawn in the beginning, just doing graphic design, and how far have you come? Is there like double the amount of colors or something? Or
Well, when I started with Dawn, she had 40 colors that you could get as yardage in 2 yard lengths. We were limited to the size of fabric that we could handle. And Cherrywood's been known for really dark, rich, almost muddy colors.
Mhm.
A lot of Amish that kind of feel of dark Amish colors. And over the years, as the industry has brightened up and the modern quilt world has taken off,
Yeah.
I've been watching, and what I see on the market, I'm bringing that, into Cherrywood as well. I enjoy light, bright colors as well. So the overall palette of Cherrywood has lightened up as the industry has lightened up, but we also still do those really, really dark colors that are hard to find. And in 2020, when things shut down, I took all the swatches that I had and laid them out and realized that I could do 200 colors. So right now we have 200 colors, and twice a year we come out with collections of 16 colors that are
Wow.
um, available for the shops to bring into their stores.
Yeah. And so has it always been solids from day one? Like never print? Have you ever found a print and tried to overdye it? Like, is there ever been anything but solids?
There has been solids, cotton, and there's also been rayon and corduroy and
Oh,
shirts. And I've also dabbled in getting black and white fabric and over dyeing it. Um, and of course, any clothing for myself, I've dyed my shoes, pretty
yeah.
much anything that you can dye, I dye. But every once in a while, we'll collaborate with a designer. Last year, we got to collaborate with Katie Pasquini Massapust.
Mhm.
She came out with a line, a black and white line, and we bought bolts of that and overdyed it in different colors. And then we made a gradation bundle, including Cherrywood and her overdyed fabric. So that's
Oh,
a lot of fun for me to work with these other designers that I've grown up with and I admire so much.
yeah. And so you're actually doing this kind of like limited edition palette almost with the designer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, we like to do that. We've also brought in ambassadors for Cherrywood,
Hmm.
and these are hand-picked artists, again, that I've admired or I see that are already using Cherrywood in beautiful ways.
Hmm.
Um, Jane Sassman she was like the first famous quilter that I ever got to meet.
Yeah.
And so I just loved her for years and years. So to be able to ask her to be an ambassador of Cherrywood, 'cause she's been using Cherrywood in all her
Yeah.
work. And it was just like she was so thrilled when I asked her, and I was thrilled to ask her. And
Oh, good. Okay, so how do you decide each new palette? Like, how do you choose the colors? Let's use one. Let's use one kind of collection as an example. So let's talk about the Storytime Challenge collection. How did you choose the colors for that?
well, that came from growing up in the 70s and the kind of books that I remember reading as a child. And those 70s kind of colors, like the avocado greens and like your kitchens, those
Yeah.
kind of yellowed colors.
Yeah.
The browns were always kind of yellowy, and really the Adventures of Frog and Toad, that book and those illustrations were just stuck in my head. I just love that feel.
Yeah.
So vintagey kitchen colors kind of,
Yeah.
and a little bit muddy because maybe those colors and illustrations were used to be bright, but they've kind of aged and yellowed with time. So that is how I came up with the palette for story time. And also I think about what will people want to make out of this,
Mhm.
especially that was a challenge. And I knew that people would want sky, so I needed some blues, and they'd want greens for, they'd be doing landscapes. So trying to give them a wide range of colors, but they all have to go together.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about all of the challenges later in the podcast. But I just wanted to sort of get an idea because you mentioned earlier that, as the modern quilting movement is exploding and things like that, you're bringing in brighter color collections and things like that. Is there anything else in the world that just inspires you on a daily basis to think, oh my gosh, I've got to have another color collection?
Um, Nature, and especially in the summer, we have a very short growing season here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so I take tons of photos of my garden and weeds and just anything. And yeah, I'll see a flower or something and just think that would make a gorgeous color gradation.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll even see a sign, or I'll look at commercial fabrics on the market. I love taking the selvages with all the dots of the colors and studying why do these go together? can I make an 8-step gradation out of this?
Mhm.
Just kind of anything. Books
Yeah.
lined up on a shelf.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
good.
I'm always trying to kind of analyze how to make something, break it down into eight.
Yeah. And current events too. Community is something that is so important to you. So tell us about the Buddhist monk themed palette.
Oh, that's been a lot of fun. That actually came from a customer asking me for a Buddhist monk orange at a quilt show.
Mm.
And I hadn't heard about the monks and their walk for peace. So he filled me in on that. And once I did some research and saw what they were wearing and the quilts that they were carrying, I was just, my jaw dropped and thought, that is cherrywood colors. That quilt looks like it was made from cherrywood. So I put together an 8-step gradation, called it Buddhist Monk, and we put it out there for the world and the people who were wanting to make a quilt kind of memorializing that walk for peace. And it just blew up. Like we are still trying to catch up with all the orders that we got.
Wow. Yeah, things are top of mind for everybody right now, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, what a good. And I love that you're listening to your customers. Like if someone who is listening to my podcast sends me a note saying I'd love to I look into that. Like I listen to them
Yeah.
first because they're the ones listening, right? So I love that you're taking what your customers say and really looking into it in a big way. That's
Well, that's
awesome.
the advantage of being a tiny business like ours, that we
Yeah.
can pivot and do things quickly and also give back. That Buddhist monk, we gave a percentage of the proceeds to the monks so that they could do good in the world.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Okay, so like I said, I know everyone's waiting to hear about the Cherrywood challenges. We're going to talk about community after the break because we'll get into the Cherrywood challenges. I can't wait for that. But let's talk a little bit more about the biz and where we can find everything online. So, what's your website?
It's cherrywoodfabrics.com.
Okay, super easy to find. And what kind of things can we find there?
Well, you can find the shopping, of course, and you'll find the gradation bundles in 4 steps, 8 steps, and 12 steps. And then you can purchase by the yard, um, and you'll find my patterns and also some other patterns that I carry, kits, and oftentimes in different colorways. You'll find information about the challenges, what's traveling, what's coming up. You can see information about past challenges. You can see our calendar, so you can see which shows we're going to, or retreats or teaching gigs that I'm doing, and also where the challenges will be. And you can also get some information about our ambassadors and see what they've been working on. And that's it.
Yeah. And one little tidbit I did find on the website that you didn't mention was care instructions. I think that's such a great feature because there's this question in the quilting world to wash or not to wash. Like, do we not have to wash cherrywood because it's already been washed a few times? Or what, like, what's
Well,
the
it
deal
kind of
with
depends
cherrywood?
on what you're going to do with it. If you're
Yeah.
making a wall hanging or something that you don't wash very often,
Yeah.
it's ready to go. It's been pre-washed and pre-shrunk. But the care instructions are written in detail on our website because when you wash cherrywood or any hand-dyed fabric, you should have Synthrapol to help with any excess dye.
Mhm.
So yeah, we lay that out in detail on the website, and we try to, get that word out as well.
Okay, so let's talk about your newsletter because you send something out every week. So what will we find there?
Well, you'll find updates about our travels and our where we're headed, or where I'm even giving lectures and things like that, and new products and new lines because now that we're selling to quilt shops, well, I announce the line of colors, and then I also design patterns to go with it. And everybody that's like chomping at the bit for our Cherrywood Challenge, I always tell them sign up for the newsletter because those are the people that find out first. It'll be in your inbox on the day that we announce. So that's a lot of fun.
Okay, that sounds good. And you mentioned that you have hand-picked ambassadors, and I've got a list here, so I'm going to rattle them off because they are some wonderful people you can go find on Instagram and follow. So we've got Jane Sassman, Jamie Calverstram, Elaine Wick Poplin, Annie Smith, We've got Shannon and Jason, Embrace the Creative Chaos, and Dr. Carl Brown. Did I miss any?
Well, we also have Terry Lucas
Oh,
and
love Terry.
Jenny K. Parks.
Oh, I love Jenny K too.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Jenny Case in California. Yeah, those are so many fun, different people who are ambassadors and they are sharing the word about Cherrywood and they're making all kinds of wonderful projects as well. So I encourage you to go find them on the social media that's your favorite. Now let's talk a little bit about travel, Karla, because you travel all over the world, but what have been like quilt travel highlights as a teacher or speaker or with Cherrywood?
Yes, I had travel a lot. Usually once a month I'm going somewhere. Um, I've gone as far as Australia. I've been
Oh,
invited to teach over there as well as bring the Cherrywood Challenge to exhibit there. We did a bus tour in Europe for the Van Gogh Challenge and brought 45 people all over Europe and followed the trail of Van Gogh's life. We are doing a cruise at the end of this year to the Christmas markets on River Cruise. Looking forward to that. That sold out really fast. And I've started to get invited to teach. I'm going to the Estelle Creative Center, or I'm going to the Estelle Center for Creative Arts in La Veta, Colorado.
yeah. Okay.
And that
I'm going to
one,
mention something about that one
oh,
because I did a video with the founder of that center, and we've got an
oh,
awesome video on my YouTube channel. So I encourage you to go check that out. But continue. What are you going to be doing there?
well, I'm going to be teaming up with one of my ambassadors, Elaine Wick Poplin. She's known as Messy Goat on Instagram, so a lot of people know her as Messy Goat. And we are going to tag team and talk about color choices and color theory and improvisational design. She's got a new technique for stained glass. I'm going to help you turn it into a wearable piece of art. And the location is just so gorgeous. Ricky Tim's, it's his old studio,
Yeah.
and the little town is so amazing. So I know
Yeah.
there's spots available in that retreat.
Oh, that is so fun. So go to the website for Estelle Center for Creative Arts and you'll find it. If you Google that, you'll find it for sure. And go
Yes,
check that out. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so have there been any books or publications? You actually do a book every year, don't you, around the
I
Cherrywood
do.
Challenge? Okay, tell
Yeah,
me about that.
it's basically an exhibit book, and
Mm,
that started with the first challenge, and people wanted something to take home with them after they saw all these gorgeous quilts. And since I have a background in graphic design, it was easy for me to do. Um, I've gone from having to send it to a printer and have to store all these books to discovering print on demand, which has been
ah,
wonderful for me.
yeah,
And so when I don't have to store all these books. And we've got it down to a science because we're doing it every year. I'm actually working on a book right now, and it seems like I just finished up a book.
oh,
Um, but that just gives me an outlet because my first love is graphic design.
yeah.
So I just combining quilting design with graphic design is always makes me happy.
Yeah, and it's such a great feature every year. I mean, especially for those artists who have a piece in the show, right? What a great coffee
Yes,
table book to have your art in a beautiful book. Okay. So you've been in loads of magazines, featured with the challenges, featuring Cherrywood as a business as well. But you teach besides Cherrywood, you also love to teach. So what's your most popular workshop?
my most popular lecture has been my color theory lecture.
Okay.
I call it Deconstructing Color and kind of go through how I envision the color wheel and think about it.
Yeah.
And I like my workshops are usually about my quilts, which I like to keep simple. Most of my patterns are designed around 8 fat quarters or 8 half yards. Um, and nothing too fussy because I really like the color of the fabric and the texture of cherrywood to do all the work.
Yeah.
So the design doesn't have to be complex. And I also love it when people walk out of class with a finished top and feel accomplished and not
Yeah.
just another UFO to take home.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if guilds or, the people in charge of programs at guilds are listening right now, do you do a Cherrywood Challenge lecture as well?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are interested in how the history of it because it's been 11 years now.
Wow, 11 years. Okay, we're going to get into that right away. So you can reach out through the website if you want to book Karla as a lecturer for your guild or a teacher. So Karla, now is there a quilt or quilt project that's been most memorable for you?
Well, way back when I was first learning quilting and teaching myself to quilt, I was commissioned for a huge project in my hometown of Morris, Minnesota. And it was basically an installation piece. And it was in the USDA soils lab, which happened to be where my dad worked his entire life. And it depicted the rolling fields of the farmland around in the four seasons. And it was 10 feet wide by 5 feet tall. And I didn't really know what I was doing. It was basically applique, but I kind of made it up as I went. It was pictorial. It was a landscape with trees and a windmill. And the most memorable part was I ended up being working on this while I was pregnant with my first child and was still working on it after he was born and able to sit in my lap and was quilting it when he was sitting on my lap. So it took me a very long time. I made a human in all that time. And then it got installed in this lab that it was right in the entrance and, it filled the entire wall. So that was
Oh,
pretty fun.
yeah, that's definitely a memorable moment for sure. Okay, in your creative practice, what brings you joy?
Oh, the obvious answer would be color. Putting colors together that I wouldn't normally do or aren't expected, and just the feel of fabric. It just cutting fabric makes me happy. I love the sound of a rotary cutter on cherrywood.
The ASMR. Yeah,
Yes,
love that.
absolutely.
Okay, so right now we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk all about Karla's studio space, the Cherrywood challenges, some of Karla's quilts, of course, and what's coming soon with Cherrywood retreats. We'll be right back. The sponsor for today's episode is eriequiltart.com. Running a quilt shop in Canada means finding fabrics your customers fall in love with the moment they touch them. That's why more quilt shop owners are turning to Cherrywood Fabrics. Known for its signature hand-dyed look and rich colors, Cherrywood creates cotton fabrics with a depth of color like suede and the softness quilters adore. Every piece blends beautifully with batiks and other fabric while providing a background for stitching to stand out. And here's the best part. Cherrywood fabrics stand out on the shelf. You notice the texture, the color variation, and the artistic feel immediately. It's the kind of fabric that sparks inspiration and repeat visits. Whether one is an award-winning quilter or weekend maker of quilts, garments, and more, Cherrywood Fabrics offer curated color bundles, stunning seasonal palettes, and high-quality quilting cottons that elevate every project. So, shop owners, if you're ready to stock something truly distinctive, head over to eriequiltart.com and bring extraordinary color to your shop. Quilters, be sure to ask your local quilt shop to bring those beautiful Cherrywood fabrics into their shop. And we are back with Karla from Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics. So, Karla, can you tell us about your studio space? Where do you create?
Well, I create at home. I have a house surrounded by woods, and it's got a loft on the second floor that overlooks the living room. So I've always felt connected with what's happening in the house, but also a little bit away from the family. And it's not real big, but it's very efficient, and that's when my happy place to just
Yeah.
put on a movie and just play with fabric.
Yeah, fun. And you have a completely separate space, obviously, for dyeing the fabric at work and that kind of thing. So tell us a little bit about your workspace, your business space.
Well, the workspace is a nice building. We've got offices. We kind of have three parts to the building. We've got the clean part with the offices, and we do and the shipping department. And then the middle part is where we store all the fabric, and it's like the color room, the candy room. When I give when I give tours, people walk into the inventory room and just like you're hit in the face with color, and
Yeah.
they just love it. And then the back part is the messy room. That's where all the dyeing happens.
Okay, cool. It's kind of cool to get a behind the scenes little snippet. So, what's your favorite time of day?
Favorite time of day is probably about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
I I am a night owl, not a morning person. I I get my second wind at about 9 o'clock at night,
Mm.
and this is probably I've had three kids, so the house is quiet at that time. Everyone's sleeping, and my husband's gone to bed, and then it's just my time. And if I'm creating something, I don't want to stop. So I can't do it as much anymore, but I used to stay up all night or,
Yeah.
till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because I want to go with that idea before I lose it.
Yeah. Well, and you might have just literally answered this question with that answer, but what's the best thing you do for your own self-care?
I pack up my sewing machine and a bunch of fabric, and I book a Airbnb or a nice hotel in like northern Minnesota, not very far away, and just go by myself for 4 or 5 days.
Oh,
And I try to do that every year. My husband was the one that started it as a gift years ago, and he knows that a happy wife is a happy life,
yeah.
and it really rejuvenates my creative process.
Yeah, that is so great to just take the time for yourself alone. It's great. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into the challenges. I know that my listeners are excited about this, and we all want to hear about the Cherrywood challenges. These are a famous thing now. They've been happening for over a decade.
Over a
So,
decade.
what's the story behind the challenges?
Well, I've always wanted to do a challenge. This started in 2014. And knowing that I have something that nobody else has, cherrywood fabric is unique.
Yeah.
There's other hand-dyed fabrics, but there's just nothing like cherrywood.
Hmm.
And so I knew that a challenge would work, but I wanted more parameters. I wanted to see all the quilts being the same size, using the same color and limited color. Um, I wanted to see just a green. What if everybody just works with one color?
Yeah.
I thought that would be fabulous. And so I kind of put these parameters together. I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to keep the pieces small because I wanted people to finish it. I didn't want,
Yeah.
people to be overwhelmed, and I want ease in traveling and ease in exhibiting. So that's how I came up with a 20 by 20 inch parameter. And I was coming up with all these ideas during a trip to New York City, my first trip to New York City, and it was Quilters Take Manhattan.
Mhm.
And we went to see Wicked together as a group. And it's a fabulous musical, but the logo is also caught my eye. Again, being a graphic designer,
Yeah.
the lime green and black, and it was very graphic. And I thought, well, that's just perfect. It's a strong word, wicked. It's got a color definitely associated with it, and it's nationally known, globally known. So that I chose as my theme, and I announced it, just on our website and our newsletter. And I thought, well, maybe like 25 people would actually go through with it and give it a try.
Yeah.
So at that time, we said, buy this fabric. I had three shades of green and black and just four fat quarters, and then make a quilt and then send it to us. Well, we were not prepared for the 119 quilts that were sent to us in our tiny little house. And it, yeah, it overwhelmed us. And the first place that we set them all up was in the gallery. So the lighting was beautiful. And when we turned on the lights and it was glowing lime green with all these similar but different quilts, it was just like I knew I had to keep doing it. And people were already asking, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
So that led to 11 years of challenges. We have done Lion King on Broadway, and both of the Broadway productions have shown these quilts in the theaters in New York City,
Oh,
and I've worked with them, and I got to work with Disney. Just incredible. We've done a Van Gogh and Prince Purple from, of course, Minnesota. We've done Bob Ross, the painter from PBS. And then we did graffiti, which was a really fascinating one because graffiti can be anything, but that one turned out fabulous. Um, and then we've done poppy. Well, first we did monarch, and that was orange and black and white and green. And then we did poppy. And the one that people can still see traveling right now is the abyss.
Mm,
And that's all deep ocean blues and aquas and bits of bright colors.
yeah.
And we finished up story time. So we're that will start traveling this spring, which would be it'll debut at the H&H show. And that will be our 11th challenge.
And there was one that I saw at Houston one year, a few years ago, and that was all pink, a sea of pink, and it was all about Diana. So, how did you get the idea for that one?
Well, it happened to be the anniversary of her death. It had been 25 years since
Wow.
her death. So I found out that one of her favorite colors was pink. And anytime you search for Diana images, you'll see her wearing a lot of famous pink. And also, we added white with that challenge because
Yeah.
that was new for us. After all those years, we never had white. That was the only color we didn't have.
Yeah.
But I finally found a fabric that compared to Cherrywood. So that one was looks so different because it was just pink and white and a lot of sparkles and rhinestones and bling. It
Yeah.
was really pretty.
Yeah, I know. I remember all the earrings and the beautiful things that were on those
Yes.
quilts, just wandering through them. It was so much fun. So you've got to have another one coming soon. So can you give us a sneak peek? Are you able to tell us anything about the next one coming up?
Well, I can because I think by the time you hear this, it will
Yeah.
be announced.
Yeah.
So our next theme is back to being based on a person, and it is going to be the wonderful Jane Goodall.
Oh, wow. Oh, what a wonderful topic. Oh my gosh, that's going to be
She
so
was
great.
such a wonderful woman and, such a peacemaker for the world. And we just lost her last year.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided she would be the perfect theme for the next challenge.
Oh, that's
So
fabulous.
I've got lots of khakis and safari colors and greens and would just be wonderful to see what people come up with.
Oh, yeah. I can just imagine the directions that people will go. That is going to be really fun. So, if you're listening right now, go to go to the website right now and figure out how you can get your package because it will have been announced just a couple weeks before this podcast airs. So, you can get your hands
Yes.
on it before it's sold out. Do they sell out every year?
Yes, and it's hard to keep up. Some of the quilt shops that are listed on our website will have them, so you can actually get to the store and get one, or you can get them off our website.
Okay, so another wonderful milestone that you had was a feature on thequiltshow.com. And you told me a story off camera, like about how you borrowed a quilt from Alex Anderson once. So tell me about those things.
Well, that was, yes, a milestone to be asked to be on that show was like, oh my gosh, I've
Yeah,
arrived.
yeah.
But Alex has been a Cherrywood lover for a long time, and she has made a lot of Cherrywood quilts, and they've appeared in her books. And she's just a fabulous woman. And one year in Houston, she loaned us one of her art quilts, all improvisationally pieced, and I think it was in her book too. So we got to hang it in our booth at Houston, which was a highlight.
Oh. So what
But
kind of things did you feature on the show? Were you featuring the fabrics or was it a project?
featuring the fabrics, and then I talked about color theory, putting colors together, and showing them visually with samples of fabrics.
Okay, so that's really good. Well, I mean, what a fabulous episode that would be all about color. This is something, it's either the bane of a quilter's existence or they're just immersed in it and they love it. Either way, they want to learn something, right?
Right.
So that's a great episode. Okay, so we are coming around to the quilts, and I love talking about the quilts with each of my guests. So you're an art quilter. And you've been featured recently as the Quilter of the Year at Minnesota. So tell me about that experience.
Well, that was a surprise because since I am an art quilter, I think I was the first art quilter to be chosen. Usually they're, long arm quilters or they're making large showpieces. So it was really fun for me to gather up all my pieces that I've done just for myself and see that, oh, I have accomplished a lot. And I could see my own progression because you don't often look at your whole body of work all at once. So, it was very personal for me. It was things that I don't normally share. And I think, a lot of people didn't know what kind of a person I was behind Cherrywood and what I like to do. So it
Yeah.
was really a thrill.
And we're going to get into that right now because we're going to talk about three of your quilts. So let's start with the day I broke my ruler. Tell me about it.
Well, this was a turning point in my artistic career. I took a week-long course with Nancy Crow at Nancy Crow's Barn, and it's a very intense, just really kind of a graduate level quilting class. And we had assignments that we had to do every day, and they were timed. And we weren't allowed to use rulers. We weren't measuring. We were just improvisationally piecing. We had guidelines, and we had to get done by a certain time. So I realized that what that did was that just immediately shut off that little doubting voice in my head that said, well, I don't know. What about, well, maybe, I don't know. There's no time for that. So it just kind of broke my brain. And, oh my gosh, I can make a cut without a ruler and it doesn't have to be straight. And it actually looks cool when it's not straight.
Yeah.
It was just like, all right, this is it. This is what I love. So it's crookedy and nothing straight, and even the edges were crooked. So I asked my husband to make a wooden frame that followed the crooked edge of my quilt, and then I wrapped the quilt around it and did a little bit of handwork. And yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, the handwork is gorgeous and it's got sort of what almost looks like buttons, but is that trapunto or is it sort of buttons on top?
It is buttons. It's covered buttons, and it's some dyed linens calendars from Wendy Richardson. She does beautiful overdyed. I think I made the buttons from, yeah, I made the buttons from her fabric. And yeah, just using big stitching. That was the first time I'd done big stitching because I always had it in my head that I can't do things by hand. I don't have time. But then when I did it, I'm like, no, I can do this and I enjoy this.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Some of the stitching is blending in, some of it's contrasting, and some of it almost looks variegated. And also on those little buttons, there's like a print of numbers or something like that. And also there's French knots everywhere as well.
Yes, I do
Yeah,
like French knots. It gives them
fun.
another texture.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And of course, it looks like gorgeous cherrywood hand dyes, of course.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about unfinished business.
Well, Unfinished Business is based off of one of my husband's photographs of a plant that has, I don't know, like six leaves. And it was taken, it was all frosty. So the leaf itself has just beautiful crystals all around the edges of these long, slender leaves. And I actually started this result of a class with Pam Holland from Australia.
Mm.
And she encouraged us to bring in a photo and also make it personalized. So I also had a photo of my husband took a self-portrait of his eye. Not
Mm.
sure how he did it, but he has a very close up of the iris of his eyeball.
Yeah.
And the shape of his eye is like the shape of the leaf. So I was able to print that out on paper and incorporate that eyeball as a leaf by sewing through the paper onto the quilt. And I really had fun with the texture of the frost. Like, how was I going to do that? So I stitched it with white first and just kind of randomly stitched and then beaded it on top of that. So
Yeah.
I'd love to do a whole series of his photos and then my interpretation in fabric.
Oh, yeah, that sounds so cool. And especially when you're finished a piece and you're thinking, oh, I want more, you got to go in that direction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I titled that wrong. That one's called Good Eye, right? And there's another one we were going to talk about today called Unfinished Business. And that's kind of like an exploding star.
It is.
Okay.
The story behind that one is what is really special to me. Dawn passed away from ovarian cancer in 2001. And after her family went through her things and they were kind of distributing things from her sewing room, I was given this stack of blocks that Dawn had made but never finished. And they were eight-pointed stars and reds and yellows. And there was enough fabric left over from her project that I also got that fabric. So I designed the Lone Star in the middle using the leftover fabric. And all of the blocks that she made are in the upper left. And they're kind of tumbling and falling through and forming the large star in the middle. And I call it unfinished business because she died way too young. The business was not finished, and it was my chance to pick up the pieces and make something new from it. So it's really symbolic of like my whole journey.
Yeah. Oh, what a heartwarming story. I love it. Okay, so that was the quilts. It was really exciting to sort of hear what goes on inside your head and what kind of beautiful, artful adventures you're doing on the side in your own journey, aside from Cherrywood. So let's talk about some big news coming soon with Cherrywood. You're having a river cruise coming up. Tell me about that.
Yes, we are going to fly to Milan, Italy, and we're going to take a river cruise through the Christmas markets of Germany and France. And we have 55 people, I believe,
Wow.
signed up, and it's a smaller boat. So we get, real intimate and get to know each other. And we might do some hand stitching and things but we're mainly there to just enjoy each other's company and get to know quilters from all over the world.
Oh, that sounds like a bucket list item for sure. That's
Yes.
awesome. Okay, and then you have some retreats this fall. A couple of them are sold out with Jane Sassman, but tell us what she's going to be doing.
Well, Jane is going to be doing two sessions because she was so popular that we added a second session. And we have this beautiful resort in Nisswa, Minnesota, on a lake, very woodsy and quiet, peaceful, with gorgeous event center that we're going to be doing or working. And I believe she's doing designing from nature. So it's perfect because the resort is called Nature Link, and we're going to have plenty of cherrywood fabric at people's fingertips to design from. We
Yeah.
decided to make this an annual event, so we reached out to Rachel Clark from California, who is well known for her gorgeous wardrobe of coats, and she will be teaching coat making, and that will be in March of 2027.
Oh my gosh, who does not want a cherrywood coat? Oh my goodness, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and are you allowed to mention the one that's coming up in the fall as well for 2027?
So yes, 2027 in November will be Carolina Juanito.
Oh, yes.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. That's how I was pronouncing it, and she taught me, so I think you got it right.
Yes, I'm so excited about that because her style and Cherrywood are just hand in hand.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure what she's teaching yet, but any of her classes. I have taken an online class from her, and I was so proud of what I could accomplish. So
Yeah.
really looking forward to that.
Okay, and of course, I've had Jane Sassman and Carolina on the podcast in the past. So if you want to go back and listen to those episodes, Jane was episode 205 and Carolina was episode 226. So you can Google those. I know I trust you guys. You can find them. I encourage you to go check it out. And it kind of sounds like Rachel Clark might be a good guest as well. So maybe I'll have to ask her in the future.
Oh, she's very entertaining and so talented and so funny.
Yeah, and we haven't really had an episode all about making a quilted coat, especially with cherrywood fabric. That would be fabulous. Okay, so this episode is airing in late June. So the next Cherrywood Challenge will have just come out June 10th. So how can people get involved in that? What's the call to action? Where do they go?
Well, it's simple to get involved. You just get your hands on that bundle of fabric. So it'll be a collection of either 8 fat quarters, or some people don't want to run out of fabric, so they like to have more, so they get the half yard bundle.
Okay.
And you can look for them at your local quilt shop or go to cherrywoodfabrics.com, and the rules will be printed out and tucked inside each bundle.
Yeah.
So there's not that many rules. You need to only use the colors in the bundle. That's your challenge. How can you come up with an idea about Jane? something that she's accomplished or how her life spoke to you. Maybe it's, a portrait of her. It doesn't have to be. Just what did Jane Goodall stand for, and what does she mean to you and her life legacy?
Yeah.
And interpret that in just 8 colors. And that is the fun of it and also the challenge.
Yeah.
And then design it to be finished at 20 inches square. And you can embellish it however you want. You can use any technique that you want. A lot of people are using a lot of embroidery and beading and dimension and um, just just have fun with it. And
Mhm.
also design something that feels good to you. Don't worry about being selected. We get a lot of entries and we
Mhm.
can't possibly show them all,
Yeah.
but we keep 225 quilts, and those are selected as a jury process. So you photograph the quilt and you upload it to our website, and you also write an artist statement so you can have a chance to tell us why you chose this subject and what you were thinking of, and a story behind the quilt. And the judges or the jurors go through all of the artist statements and looking for originality and workmanship and creativity and impact, and they select the 225 quilts that travel.
Wow.
And then those quilts get sent to us here in Minnesota, and we put together the exhibit, which involves pinning the quilts onto banners so that they all hang beautifully, and it's very easy for the quilt shows to put them up. We iron their names and title of the quilt right onto the banner, so nothing gets separated. It's all organized, and we ship them off to the first show, and then they continually get shipped from show to show to show. Sometimes they stop in galleries in different venues, and about 18 months later, you will get your quilt back.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you have your process down to a T, and what an honor it would be to make the top 225. Wow. That's a
Yes.
lot of quilts. And then, of course, you do some prizes as well, don't you?
Yes. Well, we have some wonderful sponsors that have been with us for several years, Orifil and Misty Fuse and Aliso Irons and even Quilt Shop. We have Sweet Home Quilting, and they are helping us, manage the project itself and getting them accepted into shows and all that. But they also have been very generous about donating prizes. And now we're doing random prizes so that
Mm.
um, we used to judge them and do first, second, third, fourth, fifth place.
Yeah.
But man, the quality of these quilts and the scope of it's, it just doesn't seem right to say that this one's the best.
Yeah.
This one's better than this one because it's so subjective. And the whole point of it is to um, push yourself creatively, take a personal journey, challenge yourself, be part of something bigger. And, you know, it's more of a fulfillment. So, we just pick random people to get some sponsor prizes, and um, then, people feel part of something. And, it's open to anybody. We've got
Yeah.
beginners, we've got people who have been sewing for 30 years, and we've got painters who have never quilted that just want to get in on this artistic experience. And what I really love about it is everybody started in the same place. They have the same 8 fabrics sitting in their sewing machine.
Hmm.
And when you work alone and you come up with something, you don't even know how great it's going to be when it's with everybody else's. Now it's
Yeah.
become something 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
And it's just really fulfilling to watch it come together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Everything about that is just absolutely wonderful. I love how you are taking your community, your customers, you're inviting them and inspiring them to take part. And then when they do and you have them in your hands, then you're letting them travel all over the world and you're putting them on display. And so you're taking these artists and you're featuring them to the world. So I love that whole part of the Cherrywood story. It's wonderful. So, okay, now it's time for the lightning round robin. And it's a series of rapid fire questions and it's super fun. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. I just want to keep talking about the challenge for another 10, 20, 30 minutes, but okay, we have to move on. So what triggers inspiration for you?
Visual. Just anything that perks my mind up. Color catches my eye, sometimes not color, and that just starts me on a path of what if.
Ah, how many UFOs do you have going on at once in your studio?
Oh, too many to count. Right now, at probably at least 20 just on my sewing table
Oh,
and
wow.
sewing area, and then a few tucked in the closet.
Okay, and you mentioned you have an annual creative escape where you go alone for 5 days. Is there anything else you want to mention around that?
Well, make sure that you bring lots of snacks and wine and um, Airbnbs have turned out to be great because a lot of times they have a lot of floor space where you can
Yeah,
lay things out on the floor and design.
yeah. Well, that's true. Okay, do you have any kind of personal reward system for getting things done?
Cake.
Cake, yeah. I always say M&Ms.
My downfall is cakey things like muffins and scones and cupcakes. And yeah, that's my
Yeah.
downfall.
Okay. And what motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
Work, believe it or not, I just love working with
Oh,
Cherrywood. And I I'm so excited about my product that I don't feel like I'm selling it. I feel like I'm sharing it.
yeah.
So
Oh,
I love it.
you're doing the right thing if you're waking up in the morning and want to get out of bed in the morning because you love what you do. Okay. Have you had any weird, crazy, or funny fan moments?
Well, kind of from my kids from the back end. Um, I have three kids and they've grown up with Cherrywood. In fact, two of them were in my belly as I was dyeing fabric. So they they came to a certain age where they're like, "Mom, are you famous?" Like, well, not to your friends, but in certain situations, yes, people know who I am. But and now each one of them have gone to a quilt show with me to help out in the booth, and they've really gained a new respect for what I go through to travel across the country and bring fabric.
They're like, wow, mom's the real deal.
Depends on who you ask.
Has there been a mentor who's really influenced you along the way?
Well, Dawn was my mentor, for sure. She taught me everything about dyeing and also just about caring for others. She was a very soft-spoken,
Mm.
um, kind, just not self-centered at all. And anybody who knew her just like felt her warmth. And even on the business side, she taught me how to just deal with people in business. And um, she never raised her voice, and she got things done. So
Uh,
yeah, she was definitely my mentor.
do you have any favorite collections of any kind in your home?
Lots. I am a collector, and I come from a family of collectors. Um, I am remodeling my kitchen, and I'm so excited to display my collection of dishes. I want to start collecting Fiestaware,
Mm.
but I am Dutch, so I have a huge collection of Delft, blue and white
Oh,
Dutch.
Delft. Well, and what do you mean by fiesta ware? Is that like the sort of pasta plates with the jalapeno peppers on it, or?
Well, they're solid colored plates, but they are, I'm just learning about the history of them, but they've been around for
Oh,
a long time. The 50s, they really flourished, but they come in all different colors so that I can put gradations of plates together now to go
yeah.
with my gradations of fabric.
Oh, cool. I just saw an influencer the other day that had these old school, I don't know what they're Corningware or something, in this whole shelf behind her. And I was like, wow, that's gorgeous. So yeah,
Yeah, that's my goal.
I could see the attraction. Okay. What's your proudest accomplishment?
Um, well, being Quilter of the Year was like pretty amazing. Like
Yeah.
that I didn't know was in my future, so
Yeah.
pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's a big milestone. Okay, well, thank you for braving the lightning round, Robin. That was really fun. So I've mentioned your website a few times at cherrywoodfabrics.com, where we can find all the things we've talked about today. But where's the best place for us to connect with you on social media?
Well, we have a very active Facebook community. And sometimes when we do special projects, like we have a block of the month going right now, and we have a private group for those people. Instagram, and we are pretty active on YouTube. I don't post regularly there, but you'll see some both short and long content there. And then we also are on Patreon, where we can
Mm.
do things like sew-alongs and, you know, getting first crack at the new products and that kind of thing.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay, so on Facebook, it's Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics. And on Instagram, it's Cherrywood Fabrics. And of course, YouTube, that's kind of like an archive, right? Because all the videos are there all the time, and you can find that they don't kind of disappear like social media seems to do. Now, as we wrap up, Karla, what do you want people to take away most from our conversation today?
Well, I really want people to take a look at on my website. I have a saying, it's kind of a motto or just a way of living that has to do with color theory, but color theory and how we relate to people. I think there's a lot of connections there, and realize that all the colors of the rainbow wouldn't be as beautiful unless they were all there. So we need all the colors. We can reach across the aisle and reach our complementary color and have spark and wonderful things. So
yeah. Oh, what a wonderful message to end with. It was like a metaphor for color and life. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karla, it's been so great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks.
So that was my show with Karla Overland of Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics. I loved this conversation about a company that has grown and flourished with a focus on color. There's something so satisfying about going back to the basics, color, texture, fabric, and really just understanding how powerful those elements are on their own. What I love about Cherrywood as well, there's two things actually. I love how the dyed fabrics simplify and elevate design all at once. These aren't just solids, they're full of depth and variation, which gives your quilts movement and life. And the second thing is community. I loved the conversation about their Cherrywood challenges and how they're featuring art quilters in shows, magazines, galleries around the world. And I love that reminder to support your local quilt shops as well, because that's where so much of our creative inspiration starts as quilters. If you've never tried Cherrywood fabrics, this might be your sign to explore them and see how they change the way you think about color in your quilts. And today, I loved sharing the story of Karla Overland and Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics with you. Quilter on Fire is now on YouTube, and it's packed with brand new weekly content. What's waiting for you? Fun and easy tutorials to follow, exciting unboxings, exclusive interviews with top quilters and artists at the biggest quilt shows like Houston and QuiltCon. If you love Quilter on Fire on the podcast, you're going to be blown away by our YouTube channel. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Quilter on Fire on YouTube today. Let's ignite your passion for quilting. Thank you for listening to the Quilter on Fire podcast. Remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. Your support helps me reach more quilters just like you, striving for that perfect quilty lifestyle. Click on those 5 stars and share what you loved most about today's episode. Don't forget to hit the follow button if you haven't already. With new episodes dropping weekly, you won't want to miss out on the inspiring stories and tips we have in store. Until next time, dream big and have fun in the studio with the Quilter on Fire.